Since changing the name of the Eclectic Americana Friday morning drive time radio show on January 20th, 1989 to the Bushwhackers Breakfast Club, the DJs in the collective have strived to entertain and inform our listeners. Airing from 6 to 9 a.m. Pacific at KZSC 88.1 FM in Santa Cruz, California, the Bushwhackers usually have 2 interviews a week, each airing for about half an hour. We're not afraid to ask questions or admit that we don't know something, and we don't mind taking deep dives or following a tangent as we get into how sausage is made in local, county, or state politics, or learning about things going on in our community, or discussions with artists. Our interviews are not scripted and are produced by myself, Dangerous Dan Orange. Good morning, KZSC. You're on the air.
Hey, Dan. Thanks for the invitation. It's a pleasure being here with y'all.
Is that Jim Greiner, local percussionist?
I think it might be.
It is, man. That's me.
And you're playing tomorrow night with Yuji Tojo at the Ugly Mug.
That's correct.
Tell us
with drummer Jimmy Norris as well, the three of us.
Well, okay, so how long have you been playing together? When did you start? What's the story?
Yuji and I played together a bunch about a decade ago. Did a bunch of private parties, corporate gigs, weddings, some local wine bars, and just a bunch of really fun stuff. And then, we got busy doing other things, touring, producing, teaching, doing all that stuff. And then we got thrown together for a last-minute gig at the Crow's Nest, and people just loved it, and we loved it. We loved playing with each other, and this was about around last Christmas. So we decided, well, let's put the band together. Let's put the duo back together, and so we did that. Got a gig at the Ugly Mug day after tomorrow, Saturday the 18th.
7 o'clock show with Jimmy Norris on drums.
On drum set, that's correct. I'm doing percussion, and Yuji, of course, is doing his masterful guitar, vocals, and live looping.
Okay, live looping? Is that like a Laurie Anderson thing where, you play into, she has that tape-bow violin that she would play into a set, and then you loop that back and back?
That's correct. So he'll play a part, an intricate guitar part, then hit his button, and then the guitar part will continue. Meanwhile, we're all playing together, so we're keeping the groove together. That's the main thing about live looping. It's just, about any music, it's just got a groove. So we just keep that groove together, and he layers a couple of parts, and that frees him up to do solos and to sing, of course, and to do all of his intricate little tricks that he likes to do. The music, for 3 people, the music has a lot of depth to it, a lot of different layers to it. And that's, our job, me and Jimmy, is to serve the groove. That's, as a percussionist, that's my role in life, is to serve the groove.
Serve the groove.
Yep.
Right, so
be in service to it and to serve it up.
So to what degree is your set? It sounds like finding the groove, keeping the groove going. That kind of sounds like improvisation in a way, like just keeping the groove going no matter what. To what degree is your set? Like rehearsed stuff, and to what degree is it improvised? Is it spur of the moment?
Well, Yuji has a lot of original material, so we're going to do that.
Sweet.
So and Jimmy knows the material really well. And then he's going to call out some new songs that we haven't played before, and we know we'll just be able to, he'll lay down the first track, start playing guitar, and then we'll just lay down our parts around that, under that, supporting that, and then he'll layer on top of that. And we're going to do some spontaneous audience improvisation, too, calling out for some song title requests, but not songs that have already been played, just somebody call out a song title. A title of a song you think you'd want to hear, and we'll create something on the spot.
Ooh,
wow,
cool.
Love it.
Well, let's play one of Yuji Tojo's tunes here. Got a couple of them pulled. Which one would you like me to start with?
Anyone that you'd like, man.
Okay, well, let's start with Journey here from Yuji Tojo and listen to it. Yuji Tojo performing tomorrow night, Ugly Mug, with Jim Greiner on percussion, Jimmy Morris on drums. This is Yuji Tojo, Our Life.
Oh, there we go.
once again awaken to the joy of life I know. The feeling that arose in me so many years ago. For too long I've seen shadows where the sunlight used to shine. Now my fears have lost their power. I have taken back what's mine. As I breathe, despair is broken. As I think, despite gives in. As I dream, depression loses. As I laugh, the hate cannot win. With this gift of new beginnings, for the sense of being alive, I can go on to the future. Unconcerned if I survive the best I can. Attain to not depends on outside fires. Only on my inner soul, by my will and my desires. As I breathe, despair is broken. As I think, despite gives in. As I dream, depression loses. As I laugh, the hate cannot win. That grows again, reveals a flower in me. As I breathe, despair is broken. As I think, despite gives in. As I dream, depression loses. As I love, the hate never wins.
Yuji Tojo. I think, are you with us, Jim?
Yes.
Jim Greiner, percussionist. That's Yuji Tojo. I think that was As I Breathe. So
was that Journey? I think that was Journey.
Journey is the EP.
Oh, that's okay.
As I Breathe is the song. So you were saying layering songs, people calling out. Give us a little bit more.
Yes, well, we'll be running the 2.5-hour show we'll be doing songs, jamming on them. Like I say, it's a lot of improvisation within the song structure, and a lot of just, like I say, reinforcing the groove. And we were doing this as humans since the times we gathered around the fire and clapped our hands and stomped our feet and chanted and went wildly crazy, ecstatically celebrating life. That's all music, dance, theater, all of that came from that place. So that's what we like to recreate, that sense of we're gathered around the campfire at night and doing ceremony and doing ritual, and music is the vehicle.
Right. So, communal experience. I totally hear that. And I think as much as it's a communal experience between the musicians and the audience, it's a communal experience. It's a conversation between the musicians on stage. And it kind of sounded like we were talking about how you started playing with Yuji Tojo in this kind of three-piece setup. When did you start to realize that y'all had that musical chemistry? How recent kind of have you started playing together? When did this all start?
It started, like I said, about a decade ago. Yuji and I have both lived in the Santa Cruz area for many, many years, operating in different musical cycles, and I was on the road a lot, traveling a lot. And so we admired each other. We'd say hi to each other and go to each other's gigs. And finally we decided, well, let's play. So we did a wine cafe in downtown Santa Cruz, and people came from all the streets, all the surrounding, and come and join us and sat with us. And we realized, well, this is it. And it's one of those moments, too, that I love. You set up, you play the first note with a musician or a group of musicians, and you look at each other, and, halfway through the first measure, you just go, hell yeah. Why would we want to do it any other way? And those are the things, that's the glue that holds groups together and holds bands together, because musicians can be, a little volatile sometimes. So it's always the music that holds us together. And that's, to answer your question, that's what me and Yuji first found when we first sat down together and played. We just looked at each other and had these big smiles and twinkly eyes and go, yeah.
The aha moment, you could call it.
And and Jimmy Norris, the drummer who's played with everybody around town. When did Jimmy join y'all?
Recently.
Wow.
Same thing, kind of. I never got a chance to play with Jimmy as much as I would like. A lot of my work was out of the area, but I'm kind of settling going in locally now, and so Yuji, we were talking on the phone, just going over some material. And this was only about maybe 6 days ago. And Yuji said, I've been thinking, I want to bring Jimmy Norris, and not do so much looping. Use the looping, but not so much, because he does a lot of solo gigs where he loops a lot. Mm-hmm. And that's why he's such a master at it. And so, he had the words barely out of his mouth. He said, what do you think about adding Jimmy Norris? I said, oh, yeah, definitely. No doubt about it, man. So that's basically, then we got together yesterday for about an hour and a half and ran through a few songs. And it's that same thing, just, looking at each other, cat grins on our faces going, oh, yeah. Yeah. So that's it. That's why, that's how the whole that thing evolved pretty spontaneously and pretty last minute, so to speak.
Well, you're playing tomorrow night at the Ugly Mug, 7 p.m. show. Couple of sets, I assume. And I forgot Dick's email. Where is it? cbrundell@gmail. Do you know where people how people get information and reservations?
Yes, it's. Fiddling Cricket is the name of his production company.
Right. So if you point your browser toward Fiddling Cricket or Ugly Mug Yuji Tojo, you'll find it, and you can make reservations, and you pay when you show up at the door.
Exactly. And you can also go on my Facebook page. There's an announcement there too,
which is Jim Greiner.
Jim Greiner, right?
Well, we got a couple.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, we got a couple of more here from Yuji. I've got a choice of either This Love or Groundwater. Which one do you want to play next?
This love is a little more up-tempo. Groundwater is very, very mellow, so whatever you're feeling.
Well, people are driving to work and letting the coffee starting to hit, so let's try this love here. Yuji Tojo. We're talking to Jim Greiner here in the Bushwhackers Breakfast Club. I'm Dangerous Dan.
I'm Kalamity Kyle.
I'm Kaos.
It's KCSC Santa Cruz, and this is Yuji Tojo. Tomorrow night with Jim Greiner, Jimmy Norris at the Ugly Mug. This one's called This Love.
Yuji Tojo with This Love. We're joined by Jim Greiner, who's going to be playing percussion with Yuji Tojo, and Jimmy Norris, the drummer, tomorrow at the Ugly Mug at 7 p.m. Jim, you still with us?
I am.
Cool. So, Jim, we've talked a lot about the kind of your music past, your music history with Yuji Tojo and with Jimmy Norris as well. Now, I'd like to know a little bit more about the musical journey of Jim Greiner specifically. I feel like I always ask this when we're interviewing musicians. When we interview politicians on the Bushwhackers, we always like to know how the sausage gets made. And I feel like the artist equivalent is knowing the relationship between music and money. It is a contentious one. It is a difficult one. And I feel like I hear different answers every time I ask this question. But throughout your musical career, right? Your career as a working musician, touring, extensively, recording. I'm sure all of this constellation of duties are to start things off. Is your main source of income that of being a working musician, or do you have a side gig that helps that music keep going?
No, 100% as a musician have been that way I've been playing for 50 years, and I've been full-time professional for about 40.
Wow.
And I discovered a long time ago that I actually not only don't mind doing business, but I quite enjoy it. It's the business part of the music business. Somebody's got to take care of the business.
Yeah.
And artists aren't necessarily known for having business heads, but I quite enjoy it because it's another way of interacting with people. It's trade. Trade and commerce is one of the oldest human activities throughout our long and rich history, that and warfare, of course. But trade and commerce is some of us human beings being at our best. So it's just another extension of that. Now, that said, I've been open to all possibilities. I knew I would be traveling the world in my life. From the age of 10, I was into anthropology and social studies and cultures. I had no idea what that meant, but then I started traveling and ended up in Africa for 2 years.
Wow.
And drumming, and just learning so much about using rhythm as an uplifting, focusing way to energize people, release stress, and create community bonds.
Yeah, again, that communal kind of use of music you were saying.
Absolutely.
Now, Jim,
So
was that West Africa, East Africa?
That was North, Central, and West.
Wow. And then you came back here and decided, okay, forget the day job. I'm going to make a living as a musician.
Exactly. Well, I kind of knew that way back when. I had to get out of Dodge to really make it happen. So I did. I got out and traveled and bought a van when I got back and a bunch of instruments. Worked in the gas station for 6 months to save money and bought a bunch of stuff and started taking off and playing in bands and stopping where I could. Any place where they needed a drummer. I played in a biker bar in Portland for a whole summer, and ski resort area in Boulder, Colorado, and Colorado for a couple of winters. But anyway, then the short version of that is I was teaching classes one day, and somebody came up to me and said, I love what you say about community and collaborating. It's much more than just drumming. We should do this in our office. We're so stressed out. We halfway don't even get along together, let alone communicate. So I said, well, let's do it. So I gave myself 3 months to study the corporate world and created a program for them. And this was in the early 80s. And then it just took off. I mean, being here in the Silicon Valley area really helped that a lot. But so that's been that, and touring and recording and teaching has been my musical life, my musical enrichment for decades now.
Folks, if you're just joining us, we're talking to a local percussionist, Jim Greiner. He's performing with Yuji Tojo tomorrow night at the Ugly Mug, 7 p.m. show. You can get reservations by calling Dick at 408-499-9441. Point your browser toward Ugly Mug, Yuji Tojo. You'll find it that way. And Jimmy Norris backing them up on drums.
Now, Jim, short of busting out the to continue the money talk a little bit, short of busting out the tax returns, could you give us, you feel free to hold us at arm's length when it comes to financial stuff, but hey, when it comes to financial stability It's my understanding that that's a lot of kind of working musicians. That's something that they struggle to obtain. And certainly over the course of the pandemic, it's been a lot harder for a lot of working musicians to achieve as opportunities have dwindled. Could you give us a little insight on when you feel like you were making enough money as a working musician? Did it happen a long time ago? Did it only happen recently? What was that journey like?
It happened in the early 80s.
Wow.
Conjunction with several different things going on at the same time. One is doing that pioneering corporate drumming, corporate team building work. Also, I got hooked up with an excellent percussion manufacturer. Can I name names?
Yes, you can.
Go for it.
But we got about 15 seconds, Jim.
LP Latin Percussion, premier percussion manufacturer. And I started doing clinics and workshops for them, and then teaching and doing demonstrations at trade shows. So that was another income stream. And then also playing in several bands that did very, very well. No superstar bands, but a few bands that did very, very well. And then also I played for almost 20 years in a Tempe show band that did corporate events and society weddings.
Jim Greiner, we're going to have to go. The business side of business. You're performing tomorrow night with Yuji Tojo at the Ugly Mug. Again, reservations 408-499-9441. Jimmy Norris on drums behind you. Jim, break a leg. And thank you so much for joining us here on the Bushwhackers Breakfast Club.
Thank you so much, Jim.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
You've been listening to a podcast from an interview on the Bushwhackers Breakfast Club on KZSC 88.1 FM in Santa Cruz, California. This interview has been produced by myself, Dangerous Dan Orange. KZSC is a student-run college and community non-commercial educational radio station broadcasting from the UC Santa Cruz campus. You can stream KZSC online at kzsc.org. Thanks for listening.